In a online world where it's very easy to declare, make statements, it's doing the work and showcasing that and letting the actions do the talking. So you're not asking anyone or telling anyone to do something that you're not living and actioning in your own world. If you're tuning in on YouTube or video, you'll see a cosmetic change in my physical appearance. If you're listening to this on an audio platform, I've shaved my head to a 0. So there's just a little bit of stubble on the top of my scalp. There's a lot of significance behind the decision to do that, which will come to light in future podcast episodes, but it leads into the theme of the conversation that I've reserved today, which is lead from where you live, which is my definition of leadership. I got that concept from Garret J White in his Warrior Shelter program, which I joined 3.5 years ago. And essentially what it means is in a online world where it's very easy to declare, make statements, it's doing the work and showcasing that and letting the actions do the talking. So you're not asking anyone or telling anyone to do something that you're not living and actioning in your own world. And I think as a personal brand, documenting the work, documenting the journey is one of the best strategies. So if you go to social media, a lot of people will share the best parts of themselves, which is fine. And I understand that we all do it in some regards. But the personal brands that you can tell are living what they're talking about. For example, if they're in the fitness and health space, you can see that they're working out, they're doing the nutrition. People are in the relationship space, they're talking and showing their relationship, the highs, the lows, the in-between. If they're in the business space and they're educating you on that, you can clearly tell that they're running a business, that they have a level of success, or they're being vulnerable about the challenges and the experiences that they're having along the way. So whatever domain that you play in as a personal brand, the invitation is to lead from where you live and to only talk about things that you are practicing in your own world, or if you're not, make sure that you reference the source of where you learnt it from, and that's where authenticity comes in. And for the last 4 years, I've been posting to my stories my runs, and I run 4 times a week on average. And one of the reasons I want to do that is if I want to talk about showing up and being consistent, I want to be showing that in different areas of my life. And the first place I wanted to show that was in running. So anyone that follows me will see the frequencies which I run at. So if I talk about health and fitness, they know that I'm actually in the trenches doing the work. The second one is business, and I've documented a lot of that online as I've gone and through the companies, and people can see the evolution of those businesses as we grow, as we build the team, as we take on clients, as there's lessons to be learned, as I make mistakes, which I made plenty of in business. In fact, the bigger the businesses get, the more mistakes I make because I head into territory that I'm not familiar with, which is why I have mentors guiding me in my corner. And as a personal brand, talking about it, again, it's about me documenting and showing up. So if I'm going to talk about this, I need to be posting my content multiple times a week, which I do. I need to be doing my podcast each week, which I do. And I think if you're not sure how to go about building the personal brand, just start with the documentation. What can you show to indicate that your audience, that you're doing the work towards the outcomes that they're also aspiring to achieve? Because I know when I'm following someone online, one, I want to understand that they've got an outcome that I'm building towards. But number 2, I want to see them doing the work. And I also want to see all sides of that work. When it isn't working, when it is successful, the hardships, when they hit the wall, and the power that you create for yourself is in that truth. So take a moment now and go, which parts of my world am I showing up and displaying and sharing online as a personal brand? And which are the ones that I feel called or aligned to talk about and to develop? And go, am I showing up powerfully? Am I leading from where I live? Or do I need to lift my game in that area? And you might make a list of some of the things that you're building towards outcomes in and how you can document more of that. So for example, you've got as you go documentation, which is with your stories where you update that on social media, which can be small snippets throughout the day, behind the scenes. Here I am doing this. I'm at the gym, I'm going for a walk, I'm with my spouse, we're having date night, whatever it is. And that's kind of a sort of a reel throughout each day of what you're doing. So I'll typically add a little bit of business, my workouts, my running, a little bit of family time. So you get a full scope of the different areas of my life. When we're doing the podcast, some of the things happening happening in the business. And then on social media, it'll be a mix of, okay, what's something that I've learned this week about myself that's vulnerable that I can share, or an experience or a story that I maybe wasn't proud of, and what's the takeaway? And that will form one part of the content. Then there might be some stories that have happened that I put into a video format and share what happened behind the scenes and my understanding, or where I was stuck, and then how I got to where I wanted to be, the outcome. Then there'll be some education. Hey, what have I learned and what have I produced in my world that I can give someone some tips, 1 to 3 ideas that can help them close that gap and condense time. That's a shortcut to the outcome. So you want to start thinking about these things that you can, one, what have you already achieved that you can talk about, give tips and tricks to someone that's starting from a lower base that can help them close that gap so they get tremendous value and win by tuning in and following your personal brand. Number 2 is, how can I display my values and show what do I stand for, whether that's health, family, fitness, the work, showing up. There may be strong opinions that you have in select areas that you're really passionate about that can change the world, and you want to talk about them and showcase what you're doing in those movements, and make a compilation of all the things that you really want to document and showcase the work. Because if people see you doing the work, even if they don't necessarily like or respond to you in the beginning, what happens is admiration creeps in. There's been influencers or people that the first year that they've come into my feed, there's been a resentment, or I haven't liked them for whatever reason, just the wrong vibe didn't gel with them. But after time, they've got my respect and my admiration because they're leading from where they live. They're clearly doing the work. They're getting the results. They're showing up on a high level, and on some level, it probably triggered my own lack of doing that, which is why I felt that resentment or that polarization in the beginning. So the invitation and your action item is to document the journey. Document some of what you're doing this week that's moving you closer to the outcomes and what you want to display as a personal brand. And go to places that you maybe haven't gone to before. The hardest stuff, things that you've had to push through, but do it in the domains that you want to be known for and recognized as a personal brand. So that's the action item for this week. Lead from where you live. Only talk about and show the things that you have achieved results in, or you're actively working on and developing, so people can see you doing the work and they can admire the fact that you're in the trenches, you're on the field, you're playing the game, you're not an armchair quarterback, someone that's yelling out, talking, but there's very little action backing it up. And as always, if you're getting value, make sure that you're following the show on whatever platform that you're listening on. And if you can leave a 5-star review if that's available, that will really help other people find the show.